Today, we're going to be talking about another Lost Origin deck. It's going to be similar to one we just talked about, but at the same time, pretty different. Hey, Nick from 9Card TCG, and today we're going to be discussing an Arceus Giratina deck because there's a lot of, I guess, debate on which version is better. And I said we were going to cover both the Lost Zone engine of Giratina and Arceus, and I think both are really solid. They have their pros and cons, and we'll talk about it. But before we do, if you haven't already, do me a favor, subscribe, like, comment, all that kind of stuff tells YouTube this is a good channel and other people should watch it. So yeah, let's just kind of get straight to the video. I have a link to PokeGear, the app where I make these deck lists, in the video description. And Lost Origin, September 9th, comes out real soon. So, you know, if you haven't started thinking about it because you're attending Baltimore Regionals, I would encourage you to, at least in the back of your mind, start to think about what deck you're interested in, what cards you want to pick up. If you're not sure, if you've been focusing a ton on Baltimore, I'm going to have a best of video coming out really soon, like the top cards you want to be looking out for, or at least if you're not buying, know about when Lost Origin releases, and that'll be up very, very soon. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and head over to PokeGear so we can take a look at this deck list. I want to start with a card that everybody, or most people, would know, and that is, of course, Arceus V. Arceus V has the Trinity Charge, which means if we're going second and we attach double turbo energy, we're able to just set up a Pokemon V. We can search a deck for 3 basic energies and attach them to our Pokemon V any way we want. 220 health means it's a little hard to knock out, especially as a V. Retreat cost of 2, so you get free retreat with Air Balloon. Is weak to fighting, and that might not be the greatest weakness, but we'll deal with it, I guess. Arceus VStar, 280 health, big beefy 2 prize Pokemon, and Trinity Nova for 3 colorless energies does 200 damage, and you also get to search your deck for 3 basic energies and attach them to your Pokemon V in any way you want. It is worth noting that if you use Trinity Nova, regardless of if you get energies or not, you technically have to shuffle your deck. It does not say you may search your deck for 3 base. It says search your deck for, which means you have to do it. So you don't have to get any energies because it says up to 3. You can choose 0, but you still have to shuffle your deck because you're searching. So something to note. Now, we do have the Starbirth ability. That is our V-Star power. You can only use a single V-Star power in a game, 1 V-Star power per game. However, that's not really a problem with the way this deck is built, despite having 2 Pokemon V-Stars. Starbirth lets us search a deck for any 2 cards we want, put them into our hand, and shuffle our deck. Extremely good. Very, very powerful, and kind of useful for this deck. The other Pokemon that we're going to be taking a closer look at than maybe some of the others is Giratina V. Giratina V has, of course, 220 health, the same as Arceus V, so really good. Abyss Seeker, look at the top 4 cards of your deck and put 2 of them into your hand and put the others in the Lost Zone. This is not a bad attack if we're going second and we don't have an Arceus for some reason. You can attach an energy to this and then, you know, get going. But we really do want to be using Arceus as early as possible. Shred is it's honestly a good attack for Grass Psychic Colorless. 160 damage, and this attack isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So your opponent's active Pokemon says it, you know, can't be damaged by Pokemon V. Miltank, for example, Deep Forest Camo Decidueye. Shred ignores that. Your opponent takes 20 less damage because of Stone Energy. It doesn't apply. So things like that, Shred will go right through. Really, really cool. Now, I don't mind Giratina V having Shred because it's a 3 energy mixed attack cost versus something like Mew that can get it very, very easily thanks to Fusion Strike Energy and Elisa Sparkle. So there's really no reason why Mew should have a Max Miracle attack, but Giratina having Shred does make sense, and I don't really mind it too much. We do have Giratina V-Star. I'm sorry I can't blow it up because it will show as nothing, so that's fun. Giratina V-Star, 280 health, Dragon type, does have 2 retreat costs, so cool, free retreat with Air Balloon, and Lost Impact for that same Grass Psychic Colors, 280 damage, and you have to take 2 energy attached to your Pokemon and put it into the Lost Zone. Now, what is the Lost Zone? 2 cards I've already mentioned it. The Lost Zone is basically like an exile or a banned or banished or whatever. It's permanently removed from the game, and you put it either maybe like next to your discard. I wouldn't. I would put it like on top of your prizes, maybe like above your prizes, or just somewhere that's different from the rest of the game board, because you can never touch those cards again. You can look through it, and your opponent can look through it. It's public knowledge of what's in the Lost Zone, but once a card goes to the Lost Zone, you cannot recover it. So, why do we care about the Lost Zone in the first place? Well, aside from having cards removed from the game, there are cards that have effects that you can use based on the number of cards in the Lost Zone. For example, Giratina has the Star Requiem attack as its VStar power. For a Grass and Psychic Energy, if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone, your opponent's active Pokemon is just knocked out. Now, it's going to be pretty hard in this version of the deck to go ahead and actually use Star Requiem, because we don't have any other cards aside from the Giratinas that are going to put things into the Lost Zone. We could build it in such a way that we can use either Giratina's Star Requiem or Starburst, but I think with something like this, a bit more consistency is probably best. But we can replace something like the Marnies with Chorus if we wanted. We can throw a Lost Sweeper in there. We can throw, some other cards in here that help with the Lost Zone, but I don't think it's super needed. The attack is the really important thing. Lost Impact hits for 280 damage, which means we're knocking out opposing Arceus Vs. We're knocking out Palkias in one shot, Dialgas in one shot. Really good damage. And between things like Choice Belt, even if the Arceus or Dialga has a big charm, we're still doing that extra 30 that we need in order to take the knockout. Another thing that I include in this deck is Radiant Hawlucha, because we want to be able to one-shot VMAXs like Kyrium VMAX or Kyrium VMAX. I don't know how to say that. Maybe you do. You can tell me in the comments. How do you pronounce Kyrium? Whatever. The big ice dragon from Black and White. It's probably gonna be around. Palkia. It can be paired with Kyrium. It can be paired with Ice Rider. Mew is still around. Those are all VMAXs. So big match. Let's just do 30 more damage to Pokemon VMAX, which is really nice, because now Giratina hit 280 plus Big Charm is putting you at 310 plus Big Match is putting you at 340, enough to knock out the biggest Pokemon we've seen in the game, Eternatus VMAX, in a single hit. Lumineon here let's just play it from our hand to search our deck for a supporter, whether that's a Raihan, so we can attach energies and search our deck for a card if a Pokemon was knocked out during our opponent's last turn. We want to find a boss so we can knock out something on the bench, whether it's to disrupt our opponent or win the game, does not matter. Professor's Research lets us discard our hand and draw 7 cards. Very powerful, so that we can find the things that we need to make whatever play or combo happen. And Marnie for a little bit of disruption, so that we can go ahead and, maybe play down Path of the Peak, and then, reduce our opponent's hand size, or if we know that they have certain cards in hand, put them into the bottom of the deck and force them to draw a new hand. Speaking of Path to the Peak, it's going to turn off abilities from all Rule Box Pokemon, which does include your Arceus, your Lumineon, and your Hawlucha. So do keep that in mind. We do have a couple of them. So if you need that Hawlucha, you need that Starburst or Lumineon, don't play Path. I mean, I've seen so many people play Path and then play a Crobat, play a Lumineon V, and it's like, oh man, I can't believe I just did that. Now you have a 2-prize Pokemon sitting on the bench as a liability, and you didn't even get anything for it. We do have Training Court as our other stadium. It's really important to be able to recover those energies, because we have to discard 2 with Lost Impact, which is kind of where this double turbo energy comes in. It provides 2 colorless energies, and we can do it for a single attachment. So we can turn 1 attachment energy to Arceus, and the next turn Starburst on with the Arceus VStar for a double turbo energy and something else. And now we could be hitting with Trinity Nova, setting up our Giratina VStars. And then when we attack with Giratina VStar, we can remove the double turbo energy, because that counts as 2 energies. Then we can just attach another one and remove that. And we're constantly removing our double turbo energies. We can remove 2 grass or psychic energies and recover them with a combination of Ordinary Rod and Training Court. So things to keep in mind. We do have, as for Pokemon Search, we have some quick balls. We can discard a card to draw, to search a deck for a basic Pokemon. Ultra Ball lets us discard 2 cards from our hand to search for any Pokemon. And then we have 2 Evolution Incense, just find an Evolution Pokemon. The reason why I have so much ball search is because of Bibarel. Bibarel's Industrious Incise's ability lets you draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. Now, if you're discarding your hand with Quick Ball and Ultra Ball, you can draw more with Bibarel. It's just, that's how the game works. So we want to be able to discard things we don't necessarily need so that we can draw more with Bibarel, more likely to hit the things that we want. But we do have Starburst, so we can do that. We have Marnie and Research as good draw support options. And then, of course, Raihan. If something was knocked out, we could just search our deck for any card we want and put it into our hands. Very, very powerful. And then the last thing we mentioned, Choice Belt as a tool. It just does 30 more damage to Pokemon V, and Air Balloon reduces our retreat cost by 2. So every Pokemon in this deck that we attach the Air Balloon to will be able to retreat for free. But we also, again, have those double turbo energies where if something does get bossed up, maybe our Air Balloon's used, maybe our Air Balloon's attached to something or in the discard, whatever, we haven't drawn it yet, we can go ahead and attach the double turbo energy as a free retreat option. You do have to discard it, but you know what? It's better than having your Pokemon stuck in the active. Do I think overall that this is the best Giratina list? No, I think it's a good one. I think it's fine. I think it gets the job done. It has a little bit of consistency. I've seen ones that run Flying Pikachu VMAX and Radiant Charizard, and now you have like, or Flying Pikachu, whatever it was. I think it was like Flying Pikachu, and now you have like 3 different energy types, and when you have all these different Pokemon that have to evolve, and like sometimes you do run into consistency problems because you draw the Pokemon V and not the VMAX, so you draw the VMAX and not the V, and it can get challenging. You draw the wrong energy types that you need to attack with Giratina VStar, and you need your Grass Energy, or because you have 2 Psychic on this thing already, you need the Grass Energy, and you draw Lightning, and you're like, oh my god, I need that Grass Energy, or whatever happens. Sometimes those things can happen with decks like that. This goes for a little bit more consistency. The idea is to be able to use Arceus VStar, power up your Giratina V, that gets knocked out, or you retreat it, power up another Giratina VStar, and use it to attack. You only need 3, maybe 4 attacks per game. Giratina VStar naturally knocks out Arceus and Palkia, so we're going to be taking those one-shots very, very easily, and you're very likely to not get knocked out back, unless you're playing another Giratina or something, because even against Palkia, what do we need on the bench? An Arceus, a Giratina, and a Bibarel? Maybe you throw that on Lumineon if you absolutely have to, but that's all you need. So, okay, we can just attack with Giratina, attack with Arceus. They would have to boss up your Giratina V before it evolves to really try to knock it out, but they would have to have a lot going on in order to make that happen. It's Palkia, they can do it. It's happened to me when I was playing Arceus, which has the same health. It's really, really annoying, but, sometimes your opponent just has it like that, and there's nothing you can do. But you mentioned a Giratina V, you Trinity Charge or Trinity Nova, and then you have some draw support with Bibarel, and that's all you have to do against something like Palkia. And then you can, attack twice with Giratina, and then maybe boss up a V to attach a Choice Belt, boom, gain K. That's how it goes. You knock out a Lumineon or something like that. Maybe you take out 2 Sobbles, whatever it is you're doing. As long as you deal with those Palkia V-Stars with the Giratina, you should be in pretty good shape. Everything else, you just do whatever you want. You bench what you need. We were talking about the Palkia, the Ice Riders, and the whatever it's called. You can use your Giratinas to knock out the V-Stars and then boss up a V-Max, throw down the Hawlucha, and KO it because you're likely taking damage, so it's going to get knocked out the next turn anyway. Now you've taken 5 prizes, and you can boss up something and just take an easy KO with your Arceus that you used to power up the Giratina in the first place. These are all, of course, ideal situations, and it always won't work out that way, but I like to think that it will. If you play things right, you can try to get it going in that way, or have that strategy in mind. Once again, I'd like to remind you that this is a template deck list. This is by no means the final version. This is not, I'm not saying take this to a regionals, although I think you could. This probably needs some editing. It definitely needs some testing. So take this as a template, as a starting point when you're talking about Arceus, Giratina, or Arctina, whatever people are calling it these days, whatever you crazy kids are calling it. Anyway, oh boy, don't let me. I am like terrified of getting old. I sound so dumb. Anyway, that's the deck list. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What changes would you make? What matchups do you think this will do really well against, or really poorly against? And we're gonna go and I guess end the video. That is actually going to do it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, found it a little informative. If you did, again, like, subscribe, comment. Tell other people that this video is a thing and that they should watch it, because it helps me and helps the channel grow, and that's kind of what we want to do here. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.